2025 market crash is here, and it's nothing like you ever imagined. Car prices are spiraling out of control. The 2025 market is collapsing under skyrocketing costs, unsold inventory, and crushing interest rates. Yet hidden within this chaos are opportunities and pitfalls you can't afford to ignore. Stick around to see the shocking truths about this car market crash, why it matters to you, and how you can come out ahead when others are losing big. What's happening? As you drive past your local dealerships, the scene is impossible to miss. Endless rows of unsold vehicles glistening in the sun. Over 3 million brand new cars currently sit idle on lots across the United States, a staggering 120% increase since the year 2023. This is not just a temporary slowdown, it is a glaring signal of a market in crisis. Popular models once flying off the lots now collect dust. The Ford Bronco, hailed as an icon of rugged freedom, is sitting unsold for an average of 180 to 220 days, far exceeding the usual turnover rate. The smaller Bronco Sport fares even worse, with an average of 225 days on the lot. This extended inventory stagnation is not just a Ford problem, it is happening nationwide. Overflow storage lots and even grassy fields are now being used to hold the excess inventory. This oversupply creates a chain reaction. Dealers, burdened by floor plan financing costs, are turning away new vehicle allocations from manufacturers. In simpler terms, they have no room and no cash flow to justify adding more cars to their lots. If new inventory cannot move, manufacturers are forced to slow production, leaving assembly line workers facing layoffs. The ripple effect is undeniable. The price problem. How did we get here? One major factor is the astronomical rise in vehicle prices. New car prices have skyrocketed by 42% since the year 2019, with the average now sitting at $48,400. Trucks and sport utility vehicles, once staples of American driveways, have seen the sharpest price hikes. A Ford F-350, for instance, can now exceed $100,000 for a high-end trim, a price tag that would have seemed absurd just a few years ago. But it is not just the sticker price. Insurance premiums have doubled in many states over the past 2 years, creating a financial burden for buyers. Imagine stretching your budget to afford a $90,000 truck only to face an annual insurance bill that is equally jaw-dropping. This affordability crisis is keeping buyers away from showrooms and leaving dealerships with cars they cannot sell. There is also the issue of perceived value. A $60,000 Toyota Land Cruiser or a $70,000 Bronco Raptor might look great on paper, but when potential buyers compare these price tags to what they are actually getting, the excitement fades. Even generous discounts and incentivized interest rates cannot erase the sting of inflated manufacturers' suggested retail prices. Repossession surge. The financial strain does not end with sticker prices. Rising repossession rates paint a grim picture of consumer debt. Repossession rates have increased by 23% in just 1 year, bringing them to levels not seen since the 2008 financial crisis. Auto loans past due by 30 days are at record highs, leaving many wondering how long this trend can continue before the entire system breaks. One of the key culprits is negative equity. On average, Americans owe $7,200 more on their auto loans than their vehicles are worth. This is not just a number, it is a reflection of financial stress for millions of families. People who purchased vehicles during the pandemic, often at inflated prices, now find themselves underwater as values plummet. The situation is particularly dire for those who finance their vehicles with long-term loans at high interest rates. A truck purchased for $90,000 on a 72-month loan at 7% interest will cost over $120,000 by the time it is paid off. For many, the monthly payments are simply unmanageable, pushing them further into debt or leading to repossession. Loan and interest rate chaos. Even for buyers who manage to secure loans, the cost of borrowing has become a significant barrier. The national average interest rate for new vehicle loans has climbed to 7%, while used vehicle loans hover around 11%. These numbers might seem abstract, but their impact is painfully real. Take, for example, a buyer looking at a used Ford Ranger priced at $42,000. With an 11% interest rate, they will end up paying more over the life of the loan than they would for a new model with a 7% rate. It is a lose-lose situation. Either pay a premium for new or get buried in interest for used. Banks are not making things easier either. 1 in 5 auto loans is now being denied outright, leaving potential buyers locked out of the market entirely. Those who do secure financing are often faced with payments they can barely afford. The average monthly payment for a new car has risen to $760, with used vehicles averaging $525. For many households already stretched thin by rising costs of living, these payments are simply untenable. Manufacturing slowdowns. The crisis in the car market does not end with dealerships. With inventory piling up and cars sitting unsold for hundreds of days, automakers have been forced to hit the brakes on production. Factories that were once bustling with activity are now scaling back operations, leaving assembly lines eerily quiet. Across the United States, manufacturers have already begun laying off workers to cope with declining demand. Thousands of jobs in production and assembly have been cut, affecting not just individual livelihoods but entire communities. In Detroit, Michigan, often called the Motor City, unemployment rates are rising faster than anywhere else in the country. Factory closures and job cuts are pushing many families to the brink. This issue is not unique to the United States. Globally, automakers are feeling the strain. Companies like Volkswagen and Nissan have announced massive layoffs to curb their losses. Volkswagen alone plans to reduce its workforce by 35,000 employees by the year 2030. These cuts highlight the severity of the issue, as even giants of the industry are struggling to adapt to the market's changing dynamics. The global perspective. The car market crash of 2025 is not confined to one region. It is a global phenomenon. In Europe, automakers like Mercedes-Benz and BMW are reporting record profit losses, forcing them to reconsider their strategies. These companies, once synonymous with luxury and innovation, are now struggling to maintain their footing. In Asia, Nissan's situation is even more precarious. Reports suggest that the company is on the verge of being bought out by Honda, a last-ditch effort to save the struggling brand. Over half of Nissan's dealerships in the United States are currently losing money on a month-to-month basis, painting a grim picture for its future. The ripple effect extends to smaller players in the industry as well. Stellantis, the parent company of 14 car brands, is reportedly planning to consolidate its operations, potentially cutting less profitable brands entirely. These moves are indicative of a market that is no longer sustainable in its current form. The global slowdown is also affecting supply chains. Automakers are cutting back on orders for raw materials, which impacts industries like steel and aluminum production. This cascading effect threatens to destabilize economies far beyond the automotive sector, creating a feedback loop of reduced demand and economic contraction. The electric vehicle slowdown. Electric vehicles were once hailed as the future of the automotive industry, but the 2025 car market crash has put a serious dent in that narrative. Despite government incentives and massive investments from automakers, the demand for electric vehicles has slowed dramatically. Companies like Rivian and Lucid Motors, which were once market darlings, have seen their stock prices plummet. Rivian's market share has dropped by 55% in the past year, while Lucid has experienced a 48% decline. Even established brands like Ford are struggling to sell their electric models. The F-150 Lightning, once marketed as the pinnacle of electric truck innovation, is now sitting unsold on dealership lots. Ford has offered deep discounts and incentivized interest rates to move these vehicles, but even that has not been enough to clear inventory. The issue lies not just in pricing, but also in infrastructure. Many potential buyers are hesitant to commit to an electric vehicle due to the lack of reliable charging networks, particularly in rural areas. For consumers who rely on their vehicles for long commutes or work in remote locations, the fear of running out of charge is a significant deterrent. Moreover, the high upfront cost of electric vehicles remains a barrier. While manufacturers have made strides in reducing production costs, electric vehicles are still priced like luxury items. The average price of an electric vehicle in the United States is well above $50,000, far out of reach for the average consumer. Without significant advancements in affordability and infrastructure, the electric vehicle market may struggle to recover. The dealer dilemma. Dealerships are the front lines of the car market crash, and they are bearing the brunt of the financial fallout. With inventory piling up, many dealerships are facing mounting costs just to keep their doors open. Floor plan financing, a type of loan used by dealers to purchase inventory, comes with interest payments that grow each month the car sits unsold. For many dealerships, these costs have become unsustainable. In response, some dealers are slashing prices to unprecedented levels. Discounts of 10 to 15% below invoice are becoming increasingly common as dealers scramble to move inventory. However, even these steep cuts are not always enough to entice buyers, particularly for high-priced models like trucks and luxury sport utility vehicles. The problem is compounded by a lack of consumer confidence. Buyers are wary of making large financial commitments in a market that feels increasingly unstable. Many are waiting to see if prices will drop further, creating a vicious cycle where dealerships cannot generate the revenue needed to stay afloat. Some dealers are hoping for government intervention to save the industry, but such bailouts are far from guaranteed. During the financial crisis of 2008, government support helped keep automakers and dealerships alive, but the circumstances are different now. With a more fractured political climate and public skepticism of corporate bailouts, many dealerships may be left to fend for themselves. The consequences of dealership closures extend far beyond the loss of local businesses. When a dealership goes bankrupt, it disrupts the supply chain, leaving manufacturers with unsold inventory that must be reallocated. This further strains the industry, creating a cascading effect that impacts workers, suppliers, and consumers alike. Negative equity explained. The concept of negative equity has become a central pain point for buyers during the car market crash of 2025. Negative equity occurs when a car's market value falls below the amount owed on the loan, leaving buyers underwater on their payments. This problem has reached unprecedented levels, with the average American now owing $7,200 more than their vehicle is worth. What caused this surge in negative equity? For many, the root lies in the pandemic-era car market, where inflated prices and extended loan terms became the norm. Buyers who purchased vehicles at record-high prices during the years 2020 and 2021 are now seeing their cars rapidly depreciate. Meanwhile, those long loan terms, often 60 to 72 months, lock buyers into financial commitments that become increasingly untenable as the vehicle's value declines. Negative equity creates a vicious cycle. Many buyers looking to trade in their vehicles find that the trade-in value does not cover the remaining loan balance, forcing them to roll the deficit into a new loan. This exacerbates their financial strain and pushes monthly payments even higher. For consumers already grappling with rising living costs, this additional burden can be overwhelming. Affordable models still sell, while high-priced trucks and sport utility vehicles sit unsold on dealership lots. Some affordable models are bucking the trend. Vehicles priced between $30,000 and $40,000, such as the Ford Maverick and Toyota RAV4, are selling steadily. These models offer a combination of reasonable pricing, decent fuel efficiency, and practicality, making them a more appealing choice for cost-conscious buyers. The Ford Maverick, for instance, has gained popularity as an entry-level truck that balances utility and affordability. Priced at around $38,000 for the higher trims, it is a far cry from the six-figure price tags of full-size trucks like the Ford F-350. Similarly, the Toyota RAV4 remains a reliable choice for families seeking a fuel-efficient and versatile vehicle within a manageable budget. What makes these models successful in a struggling market? The answer lies in their appeal to practicality over luxury. Buyers are prioritizing vehicles that meet their essential needs without breaking the bank. This trend underscores a shift in consumer preferences, where affordability and utility are valued more than premium features or brand prestige. However, even these affordable models face challenges. Rising interest rates mean that buyers still struggle with monthly payments, even for lower-priced vehicles. Additionally, dealerships are often unable to restock these popular models quickly enough, leading to localized shortages that frustrate potential buyers. Long-term financing risks. Long-term financing has been marketed as a solution for buyers facing rising car prices, but it often creates more problems than it solves. Loans extending for 72 or even 84 months have become increasingly common, offering lower monthly payments at the cost of significantly higher total expenses over time. While these loans may seem attractive on the surface, they come with hidden risks that can trap buyers in financial hardship. The most immediate issue with long-term loans is the high interest expense. A buyer financing a $50,000 vehicle at 7% interest over 6 years will pay nearly $6,000 more than they would with a traditional 5-year loan. Stretch that loan to 7 years and the total interest paid climbs even higher. These costs add up, especially for buyers already facing tight budgets. Another problem is the impact of depreciation. Cars lose value fastest during the first few years of ownership, meaning that buyers with long-term loans are often paying off a vehicle that is worth far less than the loan balance. This depreciation trap is especially problematic for those who need to sell or trade their vehicles before the loan term ends. Buyers find themselves stuck in a cycle of negative equity, unable to upgrade to a new car without incurring significant financial losses. Long-term loans also create challenges for budgeting. While the lower monthly payments may initially feel manageable, life circumstances can change. Job losses, medical emergencies, or unexpected expenses can make it difficult to keep up with payments. For many, this leads to repossession, further damaging their financial standing and credit scores. The used car trap. At first glance, buying a used car might seem like a better option in a crashing market. Used vehicles often have lower price tags than their new counterparts, making them appear more affordable. However, the current economic climate has turned the used car market into a minefield for unsuspecting buyers. One of the biggest challenges is the high interest rates attached to used car loans. The national average interest rate for used vehicles now stands at 11% compared to 7% for new cars. While a lower upfront cost may seem appealing, the higher interest rate often means that buyers end up paying more over the life of the loan. For example, a $42,000 used vehicle financed at 11% over 60 months costs significantly more than a $50,000 new vehicle financed at 7%. Depreciation also plays a significant role in the used car trap. Unlike new cars, which typically come with warranties and factory support, used vehicles often require more maintenance and repairs. These additional costs can quickly erode any initial savings. Buyers who finance used cars with high-interest loans may find themselves spending thousands more than expected, especially if repairs are needed. Moreover, the inventory of used vehicles is also inflated, mirroring the issues seen in the new car market. Dealerships are struggling to sell older models that were traded in during the pandemic, many of which have higher mileage and questionable reliability. Buyers looking for quality used cars must navigate a saturated market where the best options are often overpriced. For cash buyers, used cars remain a viable option, as they can avoid the pitfalls of financing. However, for the majority of buyers who rely on loans, the used car market presents risks that are difficult to justify in the current economic climate. The coming crash. The car market crash of 2025 is no longer a hypothetical scenario. It is unfolding in real time. Dealerships across the United States are teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, and the industry is bracing for its worst downturn in over a decade. The question now is not whether the crash will happen, but how severe it will be, and what it means for buyers and the automotive landscape. Experts predict that dealerships will be forced to sell vehicles at steep discounts just to stay afloat. Discounts of 10 to 15% below invoice prices are expected to become the norm as dealerships struggle to offload inventory. For buyers, this presents a rare opportunity to snag deals on new vehicles. However, these bargains come with a catch. They may be the last desperate attempts by dealerships to avoid closure. The crash is expected to reshape the market in profound ways. Smaller dealerships, unable to weather the storm, are likely to close their doors permanently. This consolidation will leave fewer options for buyers and may create monopolistic conditions where larger dealership chains dominate the market. For consumers, this could mean reduced competition and fewer incentives in the long run. Dealership closures. When a dealership declares bankruptcy, the fallout is widespread. Unsold inventory must be returned to manufacturers, disrupting supply chains and creating logistical headaches for automakers. General Motors, for instance, has already begun reallocating vehicles from underperforming dealerships to more profitable locations. These closures also impact local economies significantly. Dealerships are often major employers in their communities, and their loss means job cuts not just for salespeople, but also for service technicians, finance managers, and administrative staff. The ripple effect extends to ancillary businesses like local advertising firms, parts suppliers, and even nearby restaurants and shops that benefit from the dealership's traffic. This amplifies the economic damage, leading to decreased local spending and higher unemployment rates in affected areas. For buyers, dealership closures mean fewer places to shop, fewer options to compare, and less competition driving prices down. This scarcity can lead to less favorable purchasing terms and reduced customer service as remaining dealerships handle larger inventories and more customers. While short-term discounts may be enticing, the long-term implications could make car shopping more challenging and expensive. Additionally, the loss of local dealerships can erode community ties and reduce consumer trust in the remaining dealerships, further complicating the buying process. The manufacturer's strategy. Automakers are not immune to the crash's ripple effects. With dealerships struggling to move inventory, manufacturers are being forced to reevaluate their production strategies. Many have already begun scaling back production, laying off workers, and cutting costs wherever possible. General Motors, often seen as a benchmark for the industry, is leveraging aggressive discounts and 0% financing offers to move inventory. While these tactics may provide temporary relief, they also erode profit margins and strain relationships with dealerships. These deep discounts can lead to a devaluation of the brand, as consumers begin to associate the manufacturer with lower prices and reduced quality. Additionally, the constant push for sales can overwhelm dealerships, leading to burnout and decreased morale among staff. Other automakers, like Stellantis, are exploring more drastic measures, such as eliminating underperforming brands from their portfolios. This could mean the end for some familiar names in the automotive world, as companies streamline their offerings to focus on more profitable or strategically important models. By shedding less successful brands, manufacturers aim to concentrate resources on core products and emerging technologies, hoping to emerge stronger from the crisis. Electric vehicle manufacturers face their own set of challenges. Companies like Tesla and Rivian, which once enjoyed soaring demand, are now struggling to maintain momentum. The high cost of production and limited charging infrastructure make it difficult for these companies to compete with traditional automakers offering steep discounts on gas-powered vehicles. Additionally, supply chain disruptions and shortages of critical components like semiconductors have hampered production rates, leading to delays and increased costs. As a result, the promised EV revolution is losing steam, and manufacturers must innovate rapidly to regain consumer confidence and market share. Consumer takeaways. So what does all of this mean for you, the consumer? The car market crash of 2025 is a double-edged sword. On one hand, buyers who can afford to navigate the current market will find opportunities to secure significant discounts, particularly on high-priced vehicles that are otherwise difficult to move. On the other hand, the long-term effects of dealership closures and market consolidation could limit options and drive prices higher in the future. For those considering a purchase, now is the time to act, but with caution. Look for dealerships offering the steepest discounts and be prepared to negotiate aggressively. Focus on vehicles with strong resale value and avoid long-term financing unless absolutely necessary. Buyers with cash on hand are in the best position to capitalize on the current conditions, as they can avoid the high interest rates that have become a significant barrier for many. It is also essential to keep an eye on dealership health. Signs of trouble, such as extended inventory days and deep discounts, often indicate a dealership nearing financial distress. Buying from such dealerships can be risky, as post-sale support may become a challenge if the dealership closes its doors. Additionally, consumers should consider the long-term costs of vehicle ownership, including maintenance, insurance, and depreciation, to make informed decisions that align with their financial situation. Another takeaway is the importance of diversification in transportation options. Relying solely on personal vehicles may become increasingly expensive and impractical as the market stabilizes. Exploring alternatives like public transportation, car-sharing services, or even investing in more fuel-efficient or electric vehicles could provide financial relief and greater flexibility in the long run. The car market crash of 2025 is reshaping the industry in ways we have never seen before. From skyrocketing inventory and declining sales to dealership closures and shifting manufacturer strategies, this crisis is unprecedented in scope and impact. But what do you think? Are you seeing signs of this crash in your local market? Have you found any amazing deals or experienced challenges buying or selling a car? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We would love to hear your perspective, and while you are here, do not forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. For more insights on navigating this turbulent market, check out our next video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.